Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. Ada for making fun of a white girl for being poor because she was being racist. I'm Asian, and I'm one of the few Chinese students in my grade, which has been a lot of fun these days. So a female in issue has been racially harassing me from the start of lockdown, when she DM'd and said, "Did the bat taste good? Thank you very much, you filthy weirdo." I reported her to my school, and they basically dropped it because they stated tensions were high and she couldn't be blamed since her uncle had corona, or some nonsense like that. Then I continued getting messages like that from fake/newly made accounts that I suspected were from her, and I simply kept banning them until she quit up since I wasn't responding. My school system has opted to do it in person, which I think is ridiculous, but whatever. On the second day of school, she approaches me in the lunch line and asks, in a thick Asian accent, "Are you having bat dumplings or dog noodle?" Other people around me laughed, and I'm sure I don't have to describe how ashamed I felt. I finally felt like I'd gotten her off my back for a time, but she'll be back as soon as school begins, and I already know my school administration isn't going to stand up for me. I don't know much about this girl since I try to avoid her, but I did know she had bad teeth, lived in a trailer, and was impoverished. I'm embarrassed to have stooped to this, but I just wanted to show her how I felt for a change. So I said, if I were you, I'd be less concerned with what I'm eating and more concerned with your diet, because you're the one who has to figure out how to brush your teeth in a trailer with no running water. Stop attempting to get admitted to a hospital when you cannot afford treatment. Other pupils said I went too far since it wasn't her fault she was impoverished. As if IT was my fault that I was Asian. She genuinely sobbed, as if I didn't weep every time she called me a. She's left me alone since then, which isn't a problem since I'm planning on transferring anyhow. Story 2. Ada for bluntly telling my sister I don't care if people think I'm homophobic. I'll agree, it's a bit of a mouthful. But for background, I, a 22-year-old boy, have an elder sister named Sky, 26 female. Our mother, 48 female, cheated on our father, 48 male, and left us to be with her lover while I was in high school. When our father moved on, he ended up dating Frida, 41 female, the mother of Phil, 22 male, my bully who never did anything except mock me, and as you know, words can really hurt. I begged him not to be with her, truly begged him, but he didn't listen. The most difficult thing was having to accompany him to their home. My sister was the only one who saw how upset I was. I needed to go, so I went to be with my mother. My father took it personally, and that I was just attempting to spite him by moving on. I only remained with my mother until Sky obtained her own apartment, after which I moved in with her as quickly as possible. She never broke off communication with our father, which is understandable given that she was much closer to him than I was, and she never forced me to see him or our mother. Like when I left my father, my high school life just grew worse, and university has been a godsend since everyone here is friendly and whatnot. My graduation is in April, and I sent early invitations to my father and mother, who had just completed applying, but not to the families they have now. Mother agreed, but Dad demanded invitations for Frida and Phil. I responded no and said that it was to demonstrate to him that I am not homophobic. That took me by surprise, but I didn't back down. I told my sister about it yesterday, and she said that since Phil is, they've been telling everyone that I don't come over to visit him because I'm homophobic. She informed me that she always defends and stands up for me, but she hopes I could reconcile with him because it pains her since everyone we know undoubtedly think the worst of me. I became enraged and rudely told her not to bother because I don't care if everyone thinks I'm homophobic. She became really unhappy and assured me that she would never stop protecting me, and I just puffed and we didn't speak for the rest of the day. But I've had a lot of sleep on it, and I should never have said that to her because she's not pushing for us to reunite, and she's the one who defends me, and I know my tone was extremely cruel. I feel like a complete jerk and regret saying those things to her, which is why I'm on Reddit instead of preparing for exams. Edit. In case anybody is asking, yes, my father is aware that I was bullied by Phil, but he does not believe it was true bullying. And my sister has a nice connection with my father and his new family, new kids and everything. She loves him, and I'm not going to make her pick between us. Update. So, since I got a few DMS about it, I figured I'd update. So, as soon as my sister got home from work, I apologized and she forgave me. We spoke about it, and as many of you have mentioned, I can't risk this garbage spreading in case it damages my future employment chances. I've always been out of the closet in the sense that if you ask, I'll tell you, but if you don't, whatever. However, we decided that the best thing to do would be for me to formally come out since I don't want to contact or message all of the particular relatives in my father's family who have been talking this about me. If they still believe them after that, it's their fault. Regardless, I came out as on Facebook and Instagram, updated my accounts to reflect my orientation, and had a coming out party to which my friends and some of these family were invited, kept in line with restrictions. It was a wonderful party, but it felt strange since I felt like I was flaunting my, and I'm not sure I'll do it again. But yes, I believe one possible calamity has been prevented. Since then, things have been going well. My mother paid me a visit and expressed her pride that I was being true to myself while also apologizing for everything she had done to cause us to be so apart. I'm not sure whether we'll see one another again, but we've been chatting every day since then, and it feels nice. My father has not phoned or texted me at all. Phil wrote me, congratulating me on my decision to come out and apologize for everything without truly apologizing. Frida, on the other hand, contacted me weeping and apologized for everything, saying she was proud of me for coming out. We spoke about everything, and I believe we've reached an agreement with my father. My sister informed me that following the announcement, Dad was really out of sorts and felt terrible about what he had done. She offered to arrange up a meeting, but he refused, claiming that he didn't deserve one and that he needed to ask me himself. She also informed me that she had overheard Frida berating him for distancing me and Phil for how he behaved on several occasions. At the end of the day, my father hasn't contacted me. Part of me hopes he will, but maybe it is better if he does not. So due to you, I was able to take action and resolve that problem. Story 3. Ada for not wanting my fiancé's last name because it is too Middle Eastern. My fiancé, 26-year-old guy, and I, female 24, have been dating for 3 years. I've always told him that I want to maintain my last name since I enjoy it and I'm just starting out in my professional life. He and I both reside in the United States, in a more conservative part of the South. I won't use actual names, but my first name is a typical English name, think Mary Williams or Olivia Smith, and his surname is derived from his Arabic father, think Mohammed or Hussein or al-Baghdadi. We were recently contemplating last names for myself and our future children. He mentioned, as he has numerous times before, that it would be simpler for family planning and travel if we all had his surname. I agreed that it would be lovely, but I refused to accept his name. He wouldn't let it go this time, claiming that it simply makes sense and that I don't have a solid excuse not to adopt his name. This is where I could be the a-hole. I eventually told him the truth, tired of being about it, that I had always meant to take my future husband's last name before we met. It's just his name I don't want to take. I informed him that his surname has brought his family nothing but difficulties in this nation, particularly after 9/11. How he complains about being stopped at airports, and how he and his siblings were bullied for their names as children, to the point that all of his siblings, male and female, have subsequently changed their surnames. I reminded out that although his name is prevalent in the Middle East, it is also similar to the name of a well-known Middle Eastern politician/terrorist leader, and that people in the United States draw that link unconsciously every time he introduces himself. He argued I was being racist and an a-hole by suggesting his name wasn't good enough for me. He also said that he is the only person in his family who can carry on the name, and that he is proud of his name despite the difficulties it has given him. I argued that it was selfish of him to want to pass on a last name, which would make life more difficult for me professionally and more difficult for our future children socially, only to uphold the patriarchal custom of maintaining the man's name. That if I were in his situation, I would not hesitate to alter my surname to make things simpler for my family. I'd even proposed a solution in which we both change our names to something else, maybe a name from his other family, so that we could all have the same last name and respect his family heritage. He, though, was uninterested. Everyone I've told about this has pushed me to take my husband's last name until I tell them what it is, at which point they typically agree with my reasoning. His family, on the other hand, is unanimous in their support for me to keep the name, even the siblings who changed it years ago. Edit. After reading the comments, I realized the title was maybe deceptive. I was trying to come up with a title that conveyed the bigotry and judgment that I dread for myself and my future children without using terms like ethnic or terrorist. To be more specific, I would choose another Middle Eastern name that isn't associated with any prominent persons or political leaders.